a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right? So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown! Oregon off a dribble, launches, and hits the three! Oregon leads!
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three. Oh, three in a row!
Oregon is headed to the Super Regional.
Big Ten champions, your Oregon Ducks.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
March Madness starts today. We've got the first four Oregon men's and women's basketball preparing for their matchups on Friday. We've got a triple header across the Oregon Sports Network on Friday, including those two postseason basketball games for Oregon men's and women's basketball, where we're going to break down the opponents here over the next couple days. Heard from the coaches and players getting ready after Selection Sunday. In Durham, North Carolina, on Friday, University of Oregon women's basketball faces Vanderbilt in the 7-10 game in Durham. 2:30 start. That means a 2 o'clock pregame with Chris Clayton. He'll have the call coming your way on Friday. And then Oregon men's basketball. We're going on the air at 6:40 ahead of a 7:10 scheduled tip-off. Oregon men's basketball against Liberty. The Flames, a rematch of the Fiesta Bowl. I got to be honest with you. When I saw that, I went, I know that university. I've already learned my facts about Liberty. Ducks take them on, and that will be actually the longest trip from the campus location to where the team is playing in the NCAA tournament. Liberty has the most miles to travel of anybody in the NCAA tournament on the men's side this year. Meanwhile, Oregon, one of the shorter trips for anybody in the field. Ducks are like, 6th or 7th in terms of total mileage traveled to get to Seattle. Hope to see a lot of Duck fans in Seattle for that 7:10 scheduled tip-off. I'll be honest with you. I'm going on record right now. I highly doubt that game actually tips off at 7:10. The last game of the day never tips off on time in the NCAA tournament. So that just means you get to listen to Luke Jackson more on the pregame show. We got a long pregame show, I think, coming your way for that 7:10 tip-off at Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. Elsewhere, Oregon baseball is at home again on Friday, 5 o'clock start, also on Big Plus. Ryan Milano will have the call here on the Oregon Sports Network. And Duck softball opens Big Ten play at 6 o'clock on Friday at home, that is, after their win over Washington over the weekend. Oregon softball facing Illinois at 6 o'clock at the Jane. They're giving away Big Ten rally towels for the opener, as well as Big Ten shoelaces and Big Ten lanyards. Really all things big at Jane Sanders Stadium coming up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. No events today, tomorrow, or Thursday across Oregon Athletics because it's finals week here at the University of Oregon. So everybody finishing up classes, spring break next week before spring term begins for the Ducks. All University of Oregon students coming up here in 2 weeks. On today's program, we will look at Oregon Football Pro Day as well. Some updates coming from the Mashofsky Center. The Quack Video crew is here in the Country Financial Studio editing interviews from all of the Pro Day participants, and it is a stacked roster of Pro Day participants. The Ducks have, you can imagine, a lot of interest from NFL scouts. Pulling into the facility today, it's always fun when you see parking spots that just have a cone and it says reserved for NFL scout. Pro Day is fun. Ducks had a record number of invites to the NFL Combine and really a continuing record for participants at Pro Day and also participants in the NFL Draft, I think. We'll find out in about a month or so as the Ducks will, I think, have a lot of names called. But talking about Pro Day, Tosh, Lupoi, Will Stein, the Duck defensive and offensive coordinators respectively, they also met with the media as spring football got rolling for the Ducks last week. Now with finals and spring break, the Ducks will pause their spring football practices before resuming workouts in a couple weeks in anticipation of that spring game coming up at the end of April. March Madness. The field is set. Oregon men's basketball against Liberty. It's a 5 versus 12 game on Friday in Seattle. All right, what do we know about Liberty? Well, we know that Liberty has actually had a really nice season so far. In fact, they're 28-6. They went 13-5 in conference. And here's an interesting note. They're one of the best teams in the country away from home. They're 9-2 in true road games. They are 7-1 in neutral site games. The Ducks are 5-1 in neutral site games and 7-4 away from home, to put that in perspective. They've had really a nice season, and there are some connections between Richie McKay, the head coach for Liberty, and actually the state of Oregon. He graduated from Seattle Pacific in 1987. At one point was the head coach at Oregon State. I did not know that until, honestly, I looked, and it was Richie McKay, 12 years at Liberty. He's won 67% of his games. And at one point, he was the head coach at Oregon State. Now, though, has really built Liberty into a consistent power as they've grown as an athletic department, truthfully. And looking at who they identify as, they're just kind of that solid, your normal, I hate to say it, 12 seed. Won a lot of games at their level. Were competitive in every game they played. They're a veteran roster that has a lot of different guys that can score the basketball. It shouldn't surprise anyone that Liberty is a 12 seed. And to be honest with you, if it wasn't Oregon in this game, I'd probably look at it and say, yeah, that might be one of those 12 seeds that you pick as an upset. Now, I'm obviously not going to say that when the Ducks are the 5 seed, but Liberty does profile as that sort of team. And I think, in the words of Coach Altman, we're going to have our hands full, and you got to swing away, and you need to be ready to play, because it's a whole new season in the NCAA tournament. Did I sound like Coach Altman there a little bit? Alex Simpson's here today because it's pro day and everybody's getting everything ready. But I actually, I say that sort of tongue-in-cheek, but I believe it with this Liberty team. I think that it's a good squad. And for a team like that, the NCAA tournament is the ultimate goal, right? And most of the time in that conference, you have to win the conference tournament to get there. Now, the Ducks are a 5 seed after getting eliminated in the quarterfinals of the Big Ten tournament. And I get it. It's a difference in the conference, the competition level, for sure. Got to be prepared for that, though, if you're facing a team like Liberty, which is why the 12 seed tends to be the trendy upset pick in, like, every bracket across the country. Ducks might get a Pac-12 rematch in the next round if Arizona takes care of business against Akron and Oregon takes care of business against Liberty. That'd be fun. Arizona's the 4 seed in Seattle, so the Ducks could potentially play an Arizona team that was one of the best in the Big 12 this year and got a lot better as the season moved on. A lot better as the season moved on. In non-conference play, Arizona probably had a few things left to be desired. And then, if things go really according to plan, Oregon might get to face off with Duke. We'll see. Ultimately, none of that matters unless you beat Liberty on Friday. But they really do, I mean this, they profile as your typical 12 seed from a mid-major conference. Very good. Haven't really been blown out in any games. And they've won a lot. They're just going to have their hands full. And it is a whole new season. NCAA tournament, we've all seen 5 seeds go to the Final Four. It could happen. Seen plenty of 5 seeds go to the Sweet 16. That's the mission now for the Ducks. Meanwhile, on the women's side, a banged-up Oregon team that I think really benefited from the way the schedule falls in the Big Ten, that they have a week off after the Big Ten tournament. Taking on a Vanderbilt team on ESPNews on Friday at 2:30. Vanderbilt's battle-tested, but I feel like this is sort of much like how the men's matchup is the quintessential 5-12, I think this is kind of your quintessential 10-7 in the women's side. Oregon is a battle-tested team that took some lumps during the regular season, has dealt with more injuries than they would like. Elisa Mevius, certainly that's a big deal. And then Vanderbilt as the 7th seed pretty much has the exact same identity, except they won a couple more games than the Ducks did in their conference. I really feel like it's a 7-10 matchup that Oregon can win. Kelly Graves has won more games as a double-digit seed in his coaching career than anyone. And it's kind of interesting that where this all started for Oregon, and Coach Graves talked a bit about this with Selection Sunday, where this all started for the Kelly Graves era at Oregon was that miraculous run through Durham. Sabrina Ionescu, the legend, was born. And now Sabrina Ionescu is going to be playing in a New York Liberty jersey at Matthew Knight Arena in a couple months, which is pretty fun. So who knows? Maybe this is a team that, with a lot of these battle-tested transfers accompanying some of the core players the Ducks have brought in, you never know what could happen. I think Oregon's talented enough to make a deep run, and now they've had some time to adjust to the different injuries that Kelly Graves' squad has had to deal with. It all starts Friday. Tomorrow, Ryan's going to be here to host the show. Chris and I are on the road. We got a lot of basketball as March Madness is officially upon us. When we come back, let's check in with Oregon football. We'll talk Pro Day and dive into some spring sports as well. It's Duck Insider. We're here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
More Duck Insider from the Country Financial Studios after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing change, doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Kids ask their parents a lot of questions.
Why can't people fly?
Gravity.
Is the moon really made of cheese?
Yep, cream cheese.
When can I move into a big kid's car seat?
For some questions, parents may not have the answer, but that's okay. They can't know everything, but knowing the right seat for their age and size will help protect them in a car crash. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Where do babies come from?
Good luck, Dad. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Duck Insider presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio. Sam was asking, how do I watch the Pro Day? As far as I know, there's no live streams. I don't think NFL Network did anything for the Oregon Pro Day. Alex is shaking his head. However, the crew is uploading interviews as we speak. The GoDucks YouTube's going to have you covered, guys breaking down what they thought of their own Pro Day. Admittedly, the interviews on Pro Day tend to become, what did you identify as areas to work on after you've talked with scouts and you've gone through film and you've maybe reinvented some things about your game? And then it's, here's how I think I could profile in the NFL. Was that about right, guys that were down there at the Mo? Yep, that pretty much summed it up. It'll be on the GoDucks YouTube, though, and then we probably won't get to all of the interviews, certainly not today, and maybe not tomorrow with all the March Madness energy here, but we'll have some time next week as classes are on a break, and a lot of Oregon athletic programs are on the road during spring break. We'll have some time on the show to break down Pro Day and get you ready for the NFL draft. Big news today And we'll talk with Coach Lombardi coming up here in just a moment. A day after earning Player of the Week honors from the Big Ten, Katie Flannery named the Louisville Slugger NFCA National Player of the Week after hitting .692 with 4 home runs and 12 RBI. Number 8 Ducks won the series at Washington. We're talking with Coach Lombardi coming up in just a moment. In the meantime, though, Tosh Lupoi, the Oregon defensive coordinator, checking in with Oregon football, breaking down the defense with the Duck DC, Tosh Lupoi.
You guys lost a lot of veteran talent, a lot of veteran leaders on this defense last year. How important is it bringing back a guy like Bryce and just having him kind of be in the middle of that defense and finding other leaders on that side of the ball as well?
Yeah, pumped to have Bryce back. He's the best thing about him is he's a lead by action guy. So not a whole lot needs to be said there. He's continuing to increase his value as a vocal leader as well. But when you lead by action, that's the number one leaders. I prefer, from a work ethic standpoint, how to play the game standpoint, physicality standpoint. So, we're in a situation. I mean, Bryce and like you said, one veteran coming back there. So exciting to have him back. But this is an awesome, exciting challenge right now. We have. Particularly in the secondary and the D-tackle position, we have a complete lack of Oregon experience, but some really exciting players and potential NFL talent that we're working with. So it's an exciting challenge right now.
Left, James.
Touch on it there, Tosh, but what's unique about this process of reloading in the secondary this year compared to even a year ago? Because you brought in 3 transfers last year, you bring in 3 this year, a couple still to arrive. But you had a Taishim back last year, you had a Dante and Nico back.
That's right.
Here, everybody's going to be new in some capacity, in some kind of role, other than maybe Jaleel off an injury. What's unique about this process? What's unique about this challenge in reloading the secondary this offseason?
Yeah, I think, again, you got a total lack of Oregon experience. So whether that's, youth or individuals from other places that haven't had the Oregon experience, the most exciting part is, our evaluation in these guys and our development that's led to this point now. So we've got to get these guys from a schematic standpoint, fundamentals and technique standpoint to match the intensity of those 3 guys you just mentioned that's played a lot of reps here. Dante Manning, Taishim Johnson, Nico Reed, that was returning from the 23 season last, right? Now what these guys, walk down the tunnel with is something different when it comes to length, speed, and the potential of what these guys come. So that's the big challenge is can we tap in and maximize the potential that these guys have to offer? And that's really exciting, when it comes to coaching. You love that opportunity when there's a multitude of athletes here now that are really fitting those measurement specs that we've worked really hard bringing here.
Eric on the left.
You mentioned a lack of Oregon playing experience, but Dylan obviously doesn't have a scarcity of that at all. How important was it to find a player like that to bring in, and just broadly, what does he provide this defense?
Yeah, if you look at our roster, I believe we played 887 snaps in 14 games. Dylan's coming in as the rep leader, obviously not a part of our defense, played 791 snaps last season. The year before, he played over 800 snaps. So he's got experience playing the game. That's always something we're very critical on, is the portal recruiting. We're going to go over the top. We're going to reach out to every human being we know that has some form of relationship, because you have such a lack of time. When somebody enters the portal, you feel so behind as opposed to where we really cut our teeth, and that's recruiting high school players. So when those individuals like a Dylan, that's always the concern is how committed is this individual? Does he love the game? You can tell so much on film. And that's what's extremely clear to us now with Dylan. This guy is an absolute pro with preparation. So he's an individual that's in here, early, leaving late. He's wanting to do bonus meetings. The millisecond he kind of made this decision to come here, the process really started of let's learn this defense. So obviously we've only had 2 days of no pads here, but he's certainly doing a nice job leading up to this point. And really, I want to commend, the back end and the, Coach Wadu, Coach Hampton, Coach Boyd, all the guys that play a role in that back end as far as getting these guys prepared. Because, that's something that, from my standpoint, we've lessened the volume of defense than we ever have going into year 4 because of the reason of lack of experience there. But these guys have answered the bell really well at this point, as far as, operating within the system.
How far along have Platt, Mathudi, Williams come in the year that they've now been on campus, and just kind of the opportunity they have with so little experience at that linebacker spot?
Yeah, I don't think I can answer as far as how far along. They're part of the reason when I'm talking about this excitement, though. Those are 3 names right there. I think those names you just mentioned are consistent at every position. So you have Amari Washington that was a contributor last year. He did play under 300 snaps, but certainly a contributor, certainly a guy that's going to be competing to start for us, made some critical plays like he did in, the end of the game against Ohio State here the first time around where he made a huge play and hit the quarterback's arm, I think the second or third to last play of that game. But consistently what you just mentioned is for each position. I could go to each one with Tion Gray, Terrence Green at that position, right? Obviously, the addition of Bear Alexander, kind of fits more in that role of Dylan being a guy that's had some experience in the past, and coming aboard here to contribute now. But to those guys that you mentioned, they've been working their butt off. And, that's what we're all excited to see is the fruits of that now, but you walk into a room and you open the door, you say to yourself, okay, those 3 names you just mentioned from a measurement standpoint, from an acceleration standpoint, athleticism standpoint, these are all 3 potential NFL athletes.
All right, Zach.
Dan talked about Bear Alexander and just how impressed he was that the work that he's putting in since he got to Eugene. What have you seen from him? What's it been like kind of working with him? I know it's been a short time, but what have your impressions so far?
Yeah, I agree with that. Just another guy that's you don't know all these details, and you do everything you can to research them. And obviously a guy that's been a part of 2 different programs, now his 3rd, there's going to be natural concerns there. And all you can do is research the heck out of them. Thankfully, we've had a lot of strong relationships at the University of Georgia, both myself and Coach Lanning with past experience. So there's some guys there that we can trust some information, and then have faith in ourselves. If there is some concerns there, that's up to us as far as we make that decision. Then how are we going to attack that? And challenge him. To this point right now, Bear has been, I'd say, one of the hardest workers in the entire defense from a extra work and mental standpoint. So I really appreciate that. And I think, a lot of these things, we're going to find out a lot about each other, once we return back and get the pads on.
Talking about experience, you guys are bringing back a fair amount of guys in the pass rushing unit, outside linebackers. How do you want to see guys like Mateo, Tatum, Blake take that next step this year and be that much better?
Yeah, I don't think, there's not going to be a magic, recipe that just shows up on game day. It's going to be all about the process, just like we saw out of Tatum and Mateo being major contributors. Those are our 2 rep count leaders on our entire defense returning. Those guys played a lot of good football, but they both have the mindset that they're here to improve and grow, so you see the jump from the production of Mateo from year 1 to year 2, obviously leading the Big Ten Conference in sacks last season. I think that's simply just the reward to the work he's put in, and then the versatility of Tatum to play multiple positions for us on the edge, be a big contributor. So these guys aren't slowing down one bit as far as their quest to improve. So, they're two great examples of lead by action guys, So ultimately we want them, guy like Bryce that you guys mentioned, leading that, our culture, our goals to see a defense ultimately playing for something bigger than just himself, swarming to the ball, attacking the ball, and continuing that dominant tradition, especially over the past 2 seasons, that these guys in the past that have established on the defensive side of the ball.
2 more, front left, James.
You find personal motivation any number of places, Tosh. I'm curious what the last couple of months, what have you taken from the Rose Bowl in terms of what do you take from that of what you could either do differently and apply it going forward, and the things that you recognize are uncontrollable. You can't change that you had 5-9 corners. You can going forward, but you can't change that part of it. So what do you take from that game and 34-0 that sticks with you, and how do you try to apply it?
Yeah, I think first I always got to look myself, in the mirror. So and from a preparation standpoint, we probably utilized too many things that helped us win the first time we beat them, and to always be, asking yourself, the what ifs, if they're getting to specific looks or moving around guys that they didn't do in the past. So having a better plan for, they moved number 4 around way more than they had in the past, So having a plan for that, moving forward is necessary and applies, to any team we play. But when obviously they got a lot of strong targets out there, but when they're, moving around guys that we're expecting to be in certain places, what's the answers to that? So that was something that I've dove deep into since then. And again, feeling like there was a lot more copycats, when we watched that game and broke it down in the past of taking bits and pieces from other teams that did work at times versus us. So, just going back almost to a self-scout standpoint of what were the answers, when we did give up an explosive, whether it's, versus Illinois in the game's 38-9, never having the imposter of victory or defeat, affect the way that we, post debrief all those answers. So it stands out there. So improving from that. And I think, you already answered the second piece, as far as control the controllables. So, those same guys that you mentioned that were, in the 5-9 range, those same guys, helped us be, I think it was 10 straight weeks, a number 1 pass defense in the country and lead the nation in PBUs. So credit those guys, to getting us to that point. But moving forward, that was the past. Now we're in the present, and really excited to coach these, young, talented guys or inexperienced or lack of organ experience guys moving forward.
Last question, Eric on the left.
That was actually kind of where I wanted to go, which is just, I know you're not going to have a sense of where things are at the corner battle now because it's 2 practices in, but what do you like just traits-wise amongst this group and kind of what you could be eventually? And then I just wanted to throw out just kind of Julio Florence. Is that someone you think can be incorporated in that group too?
Yeah, when we're looking for an elite corner, we want to find a guy with a unique length, size, speed combination. So it starts there. We need an individual that can defend the deep third, that can play the ball, with that being said, we need a guy that also has some short area quickness ability, and is a willing physical tackler. So those are the main things that are going to happen when we're evaluating a corner. So you look at these guys that we have on our roster now. You walk into that room, and there's a lot of individuals that are blessed with length, speed, and all the attributes that I just mentioned. So now we got to get those guys playing extremely hard, playing with a relentless manner, right? Playing together, right? Communicating together, and then attacking the ball. So if we get that, we're really confident in what we can do in the future.
That's Tosh Lupoi, Oregon defensive coordinator. Spring ball continues after finals and spring break, and it's pro day for Oregon football today. When we return, though, talking about a win over the Huskies. Coach Lombardi talking softball next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said,
if it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you. Inside the Country Financial Studio, we're talking softball with Missy Lombardi, coming off a win over the Huskies. Let's go. You know, it seemed fitting that Big Ten play gets rolling with a rivalry. Like, I thought it was kind of fun just to have a rivalry off the bat. Series win. What'd you see this weekend, Coach?
Yeah, that rivalry is really strong. I mean, I knew it was when I first got here, but then I didn't really have like the complete idea of how big it was. So no, that's a tough place to go play, and you got to be able to show that you can go there and get the series on the road in a really, really tough environment.
You know, let's start too with, like, you had to deal with some adversity that you have no control over just because Mother Nature decided to rain over the weekend. So how'd you handle that? I mean, you get a sweep on, or I should say, you get a shutout to start on day one, and then you end up having to wait around. How do you handle that as a coaching staff?
You know, that's one thing. We have the same weather, and so we're just familiar with knowing that there's going to be plenty of times where we're not going to start on time, or we might have a delay. We always know we're going to play. I mean, obviously that day we didn't, but for the most part, we always know we're going to play. So it's just, what do we do in between?
And then you played the next day, though, right? I mean, that's kind of the mentality, I suppose. So what do you do as a, I guess, student-athlete side now? Like, how do you stay ready? How do you stay fresh? How do you handle that?
This group's a big music group. We've got a huge speaker that we travel with. We've been traveling with it since my first year here, and just got a lot of different types of music they love to listen to. They like to dance. They love to play cards. They also know how to just kind of hang, especially if it's going to be a short delay, and understanding how to kind of hang and chill and stay locked in as well. So it's just whatever is needed, whether it's a little bit longer, a little shorter. This is a smart group, very mature group, and I am very I like how they handle themselves.
Who's the DJ?
Kedri Lashar. She is the one that's got the playlists and has a nice little mix to it all.
Okay.
So.
All right. Do you ever DJ?
No.
All right. Leave that to Kedri. All right.
Yeah, I
that's
stay
what
in my
we've learned.
lane.
But see, that's good coaching.
Yes,
Then,
I
right?
stay in my
You know,
lane.
you enable success. Going back though, a 9-0 win, a 2-hitter from Lindsey Grine on Friday. 1, it's a rivalry. 2, it's a conference game. A shutout's hard to get. First time in over a decade that Oregon has shut out Washington. That's a statement on both sides. What'd you take away from that 9-0 victory?
I just love how this team fought. You know, we talk a lot about start fast, stay fast, and finish fast, and that they did a really good job of doing that and just locked into the moment. I thought our offense was great with our offensive plans. This pitching staff, our battery, they really put a lot into their plans and how they want to attack hitters and their ability to command the zone. That's what's the most important thing is can we command the zone and change speeds?
You know, every time I've talked with you about pitching, and it seems so simple, right? Command the zone, throw strikes. You're nodding as I'm saying this. Like, it sounds so simple. Hard to do, though, right? Hard to execute.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, it's just about really understanding how to stay present and really be where your feet are, be in the moment. Don't allow things on the outside to get in the way of what you're trying to do. So this pitching staff, they're pretty mature, fiery, competitive staff.
As a coach, someone who's worked with a lot of great pitchers in your career, at what point is it like, okay, you've got this? You know, like I know it's like player-led teams and that dynamic between a coach, a pitch caller, and somebody in the circle and on the mound. Like, what is that dynamic like for you? Like, do you have a click moment where throughout a season where you're like, okay, yeah, like for example, like Lindsey's good. We're on the same page here. How do you develop that?
Yeah, I think honestly, like I'm on the same page with all these guys, and it's just the time that we spend together, talking about softball, looking at video, looking at opponents, not talking about softball, talking about life, understanding about each other's families. You know, just that type of stuff. It's amazing the stuff that we do off the field and how much it helps with on the field.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Talking softball with Coach Lombardi. Game 2 and Game 3, after that delay that we alluded to, what'd you take away from winning the series?
That we need to show that we can go on the road to a very tough, hostile environment and win a series. Yeah. Like that's important because that's what you're going to see for the rest of the way when we go on the road in the Big Ten. But then also when we get to postseason, we're going to get sent somewhere, and we got to show that we can do it on the road or at home.
Yeah. And then had a game yesterday. Didn't get to finish it with the weather. Again, Mother Nature. We've all seen this in diamond sports. It happens. But in a game that will, I guess, just be in the void forever as statistics that count but games that don't. It's one of those weird oddities for nerds like me. What'd you see yesterday?
Same thing. I think these guys, again, just very mature, understanding what they needed to do. It's the last game of the weekend. You know, it's been a long weekend, so they can go, I'm tired, I want to go home, I got a lot of homework, or they can stay dialed in and understand that that game was the most important game of the weekend. Right, and to finish strong with what they were doing. So you could see them do that. We finally were getting to their pitcher. What I love is that we had bases loaded, and Stephanie comes up and just hits a shot through the infield, through the outfield to the fence, and scored 3. So, right, we were getting ready to make our move with everything, and then just the rain got us.
Yeah, and it happens. So on the ground, through the infield, through the outfield.
Yes. That's really hard.
It's really hard. Yeah, I was going to say, like, okay, I'm going to ask the expert, like, put that in context for us. I mean, the velocity off the bat, and you get the resistance of rolling on a wet turf.
Yeah, it's smoked.
Yeah. I mean, does anything she does surprise anyone anymore? Like, it seems like she does something like this every weekend now.
No, I love what she's doing. You know, she's had a couple tough at-bats, and she just always has a smile on her face, and she's ready to get after it. And this is the thing that we just keep talking with our team is that we're never out of it.
Yeah.
As long as we have outs, we've got innings, we're going to win the game. And, you know, you might have a couple at bats that don't go your way. The quicker you can let them go and get locked in again. You know, I love the last game of the series. She came up and tied the ball game for us and had been 0 for up to that point.
Right.
You know, and so to come up and just have the desire and passion to find a way to get it done, especially after Dez. That was a tough bat for Dez. You know, we have a grand slam that And then for her to go, I got you, and came up and scored 3.
I'm glad you said that because I feel like the mental fortitude that it takes, that's challenging for an athlete of any level, right? I mean, I guess that's the maturity that you're talking about a little bit.
It is, for sure, and it's just them going, I got you.
Yeah.
If you didn't get what you want, it's okay. I'll get it for you.
Right. It's hard to coach that, isn't it?
You've got to have a team that, like, everybody's on board.
That's cool. All right, now an individual, Katie Flannery,
Yes.
a home run, 5 RBI Friday, a 2-run home run in the 5-2 win on Saturday. Big Ten and NFCA National Player of the Week, Katie Flannery. The national award announced today. Coach, that's hard to do nationally. Pretty impressive what Katie Flannery did this weekend and maybe throughout the entire season.
Yeah, you could see her. We were talking about her getting hot at the end of Mary Nutter.
Yeah.
And then from there, there's just been a switch. She just really understands what she wants to do at the plate. I think she's just very elaborate with her plan and how she wants to go about it. She's seeing the ball right now really, really well. And just, I don't know, she's just keeping it simple and light and getting after it.
Hit 692 on the weekend.
It's all right.
That's, I mean, an 8 for 13 day with 12 runs knocked in, a slugging percentage of over 1,800 for Katie Flannery over the weekend. That's really something. I should have mentioned earlier, too, like, I know you talk about pitching and defense always winning championships. Now at number 4 in the nation in ERA and in fielding percentage. That fielding percentage, so to put this in context, both baseball and softball are in the top 10 in fielding percentage nationally here at Oregon. Both coaches, I know, take a lot of pride in defense.
100%, because defense does win championships. You think about how, like, we're putting runs on the board offensively, yes, but we're eliminating runs on the board defensively. And what's been so impressive about Katie is that not only is she doing it at the plate, but the plays that she's making in the hot corner. For anybody that's not familiar with softball, to play third base, you better have your mind right. You better be ready to go, because you got to be able to take a shot, and then you've got to be able to throw somebody out on a little bunt, a little chop. Like, it's different over there, and she's been excellent.
Hot corner, I'm telling you, this is no disrespect to anyone who's played the hot corner in baseball, but the hot corner in softball is the truest form of the hot corner. I mean, it is 100 miles an hour coming right at you, and you got to be ready to make a play. If I could tell you a quick anecdotal story,
please.
okay? So when I was calling the softball games, at one point I actually would stand like up the third baseline. That was often where the coaches would stand, was just up the third baseline, right, a little bit past the coaching box. I was uncomfortable standing there. Right, and I'm in like shallow left field because the balls are just getting ripped in BP so often that direction. It puts it in perspective. I'll just put it this way: when you're standing out there and you see it firsthand. Okay, now I've been saving this for one of our final topics as we continue with Coach Lombardi ahead of the Big Ten home opener on Friday against Illinois. The Ducks have now reached the century mark in stolen bases. That happened in Game 2 against Washington. So 100 steals, and it's the beginning of conference play right now. The school record, by the way, is 126 in 2007. I know you're probably not caring about that, but again, stat nerd, I'm going to care about that for a second. So to put this in context, Coach, you've already hit 100 steals, and it's mid-March. Wow. Can you put it in context for us? How impressive is it for this team?
It's pretty impressive.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think just that many.
Last year we wanted 100 and we fell short. We were at 10 away from 100,
right.
And that just stayed with us. Like, we've been talking about it since last season that we are getting 100 bags this year. And I was telling you earlier, but just Remington has been counting us down, and the first game we stole our first bag, and Remington looked at me and she's like, "We're at 99, Coach." Almost like we're right at the front door. Like, we just need 99 more to go. We're right there. But they just, every time, like, we steal a bag, they celebrate in the dugout, and you see how they celebrate on the base. They kind of do their gymnast pose.
Yes.
It's like I nailed it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's amazing to think about a sport that, look, we all love the long ball. You score with one swing. I get that, right? Like, there's so much focus on OPS and slugging percentage, but to be able to manufacture runs in this way, right? And to celebrate the way that your team is, like, I feel like it's kind of unique across the country in today's day in softball. How do you feel as a coach?
I think it's really cool what they're doing. We have been talking all year that we have to show that we can win in more than one way and not be a one-dimensional offense. And having speed gives us opportunity to put runs on the board. You know, Kai gets a base hit and now it's a double.
Yeah.
You know, and then we come up. Paige comes up, hits a base hit, and we're up 1-0.
Well, and it's so like we've seen this in Kyle Lushar's career, right? So she's at 32 steals, by the way. Ducks have 4 of the top 5 in stolen bases in the Big Ten Conference. But like now to see it with Paige Sinicki, to see it with Kedry, right? I mean, the list goes on and on. Like you can just turn a single into a double.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a risk-reward there, for sure, and we're talking about this a lot, and teams are certainly aware of it now on the opposing scouting report, but, like, Coach, that's fun. All right, that's amazing.
It is. This is a fun group to watch. They just have a ton of energy, you know, watching them run around the bases. Even when we're not stealing, just running around the bases.
Yeah.
All of our entire lineup can run. Steph gets around the bases. She hauls around the bases, you know. All these guys do. So I just think it's a really fun team to watch. If you're coming to watch us stand there and hit a bomb, like you're watching the wrong team.
Right.
If you're coming to watch us.
But you can do that too, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Scoring in multiple ways.
That's what it's about. We want to be able to score in multiple ways. That's all we care about.
Home opener for the Big Ten conference season, Friday, 6 o'clock against Illinois. Fans, you're going to get Big Ten rally towels, Big Ten shoelaces, and Big Ten lanyards. Those are the giveaways this weekend. Saturday at 4, Sunday at noon, by the way. And I know that game was originally on the schedule a while back at 1 o'clock, but Illinois' travel going to start that game at noon. So a 6 o'clock Friday, 4 o'clock Saturday, noon Sunday weekend against Illinois. What do we know about the Illini? I know you just played yesterday, but
yeah, no, they're good. They're able to do a lot of different things. You know, I just feel like every opponent we face, everybody can pitch, they can play defense, and they can hit.
No. So. But you can hit in multiple ways, Coach. And you can score in multiple ways. And you're top 4 in the nation in ERA and fielding percentage. It's a good start to the season. Thank you so much for always taking the time. Ducks are at the Jane this weekend. Hope to see all of you there for the Big Ten home opener against Illinois. Again, rally towels, shoelaces, lanyards, little O and big. You see what we're doing here at the Jane. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Quick timeout. When we return, it's Pro Day for Oregon football today at the Mashofsky Center. Keep it here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Jan here. Spring is in the air. Time to get back outside with a new Toyota.
Go from dreaming it to driving it. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends March 31st. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Jan here. Spring is in the air. Time to get back outside with a new Toyota.
Go from dreaming it to driving it. Dealer inventory may vary. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Event ends March 31st. Toyota, let's go places.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Kids ask their parents a lot of questions.
Why can't people fly?
Gravity.
Is the moon really made of cheese?
Yep, cream cheese.
When can I move into a big kid's car seat?
For some questions, parents may not have the answer, but that's okay. They can't know everything. but knowing the right seat for their age and size will help protect them in a car crash. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Where do babies come from?
Good luck, Dad. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember, back to the land of my first love. Would you spread wide your arms for this wayward son?
It's Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio. March Madness upon us. So the Diamond Sports are into conference play. Tomorrow, we're also going to sit down with Oregon lacrosse head coach Jess Drummond and Oregon men's tennis head coach Nils Schelander. The Huskies are in town for men's tennis on Saturday. Nils Schelander is the perfect interview when you discuss rivalries. Meanwhile, we won't get to all of Will Stein's conversation with the media today, but we'll let you listen to a little bit of what Oregon offensive coordinator Will Stein had to say as the Ducks continue with Pro Day and get ready for the NFL Draft, and also Spring Ball will be back upon us here shortly. Offensive coordinator Will Stein with the media.
You know that replacing quarterback from 2 years of the most experienced player in the country to whatever it's going to be less. What is that process with Dante and Austin specifically, and shifting from experience to less experience?
Yeah, it's been really fun so far. It's been fresh. It's been, challenging at times in a good way. These guys, the good thing about them, Dante's in year 2, Austin's in year 3, Brock Thomas is in year 3, Luke Moga's in year 2. Even though Dylan had a lot of experience last year, which is invaluable, and played a great standard for us and Heisman finalist, all the stuff that you guys know, he was still in year 1, So there was challenges in that aspect too for me and for our staff. But these guys have been professional from day one. They attacked us all season like champs, and I think through the first 2 days, they've all shown a good understanding of our offense. And, I think the sky's the limit for that group. I do feel like we have guys that are in there that can win games for us, and we'll figure out over the next, 5-6 months who that guy's going to be running out against Montana State. But for now, they're all working their tail off and doing a really nice job.
Left there.
What is it you like most about that group, I guess, between the years? You kind of touched on some of it. I'm just, it's a young group, and I'm just kind of wondering what that looks like in terms of being receptive to your coaching and everything.
Yeah, totally. It is young, for sure, in terms of experience. But Austin got the chance to learn from Bo when he was here. He's still really close with Bo. He's actually going to visit with him this spring break and hang around him. So he had great mentorship from Bo. And, Dante and Luke and Brock and Brock got to hang around Bo as well. But all those other guys, were around Dylan last year and saw how he acted as a fifth-year player. And so they've all done a really good job so far of just keeping the main thing, just trying to grow every day, and not try to press. Anytime there's, this type of hype around a quarterback competition, guys try to press, guys try to see, this guy threw a deep ball and completed in practice. Well, then I got to do it. I've just challenged them, just run the offense. Just take each play as its own and do a good job with that. And again, they've done a really, solid job so far.
Right, Zach.
This group of quarterbacks is obviously very different in skill set than Dylan was. What is that difference, between all of them? What does it allow you to do in the offense? What does it kind of present for you as a whole?
Sure. We're still in the early stages of figuring that out. It's really just base install these first 2 days. But yeah, I've had Hudson Card at Lake Travis, who was a dual threat kid. I had Frank Harris at UTSA, who's dual threat. Bo could run as well. Dylan. So they've all been different, but to me, they've all been uber competitive and been able to just distribute the football and be high completion percentage guys and have all been winners. So that's the ultimate thing I'm looking for is who can we win with, and hopefully we got a good amount of guys in that room that we can win. But we all know that there's going to be one guy out there on Saturdays, and that's all to be determined.
Offensive coordinator Will Stein talking with the media. Spring football is upon us, getting ready for the spring game, the end of next month. When we come back, going through the schedule ahead, a lot of postseason basketball. Back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial.
Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You know you make me wanna kick my heels up and throw my hands up and throw my head back and come on now, so good to see you.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you inside the Country Financial Studio. Friday, it is one of the best days of the year, if I'm being honest with you. Thursday and Friday of this week, we will not have a Duck Insider because we always anticipate being in the NCAA tournament. And statistically, it's two of the most unproductive work days in America. Great days when we just get basketball all day, Thursday and Friday. Oregon women's basketball at 2:30 on Friday. Chris Clayton has a 2 o'clock pregame for you. 10-seed Ducks against the 7-seed Vanderbilt in Durham with a 2:30 tip on ESPN. And then at 7:10, we tip things off on truTV. Oregon men's basketball against Liberty, the 5-seed versus the 12-seed in Seattle. We have a 6:40 pregame show for you. Myself and Luke Jackson will be there. Tomorrow, Ryan Milano's here. I'm headed to Seattle. March Madness.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll